So as you can see, we're starting off on Google Classroom for the 25th class. And if you were absent, I'd like you to check out these three rectangles: Geography PowerPoint, Class 25 PowerPoint, and the assignment. And to fill you in with what we did, we started off with something I consider really interesting, which is geography. And geography is cool because sometimes a picture does better than the spoken word or the written word. And geography can be used in different disciplines. It can be used for economics or government or biology, that kind of thing. So let me prove my claim. I made a claim. I have to prove my claim. And I started off with 20 images. Here's Australia in relation to the U.S. Pretty straightforward. This is straight size. Image 2, the path of an eagle over 20 years. And you could look at this and go, wow, it takes a lot of land to sustain eagles, or eagles can travel really far. They must be strong. The blue area has less of the population than the red. So if you ever wonder why California has so many representatives in the House, you could look at this and go, wow, look how populated. Also, you can read between the lines and say, if I ever drive here, I'll be in a traffic jam. I assure you, you will. Worst driving I've ever seen was in LA. Biggest employer by every state, you could look at this and say Walmart is killing it in the South. And then you can look at universities. How many universities are the biggest employer? University, Michigan University, Wisconsin University. If the world was divided up on population, so you can look how populated China and India and some areas of the world are, and then how some areas are very sparsely populated, in particular Oceania. The orange and the red have equal populations, so you could see, a couple things here. People gravitate toward the coast, or the two coasts, are really the driving forces of America, or the coastal people are different than Midwesterners. I don't know. Again, with geography, you can interpret it a couple of different ways. Brazil and the blue have the same homicides. So you could look at this and say Brazil has a problem, which they do. But you could also look at this and see how it's embellished. For example, Greenland and northern Canada. Hardly anybody lives there, but they throw it on there to make it look big and blue. So maps and geography have some degree of interpretation and perspective. This is similar to the ones we've seen on the African continent, where the majority of Africans live, bearing in mind this is the Sahara Desert. So it's not a lot of people there because it's the Sahara Desert. So again, you have to have enough savvy to be able to think about these maps, which I hope you do today. And here's light pollution, and you might come up with America started from the east and moved west, so it's more established here. A lot of different things. Where half of Canadians live, below that red line. So if you've ever been to Ontario and say, wow, there's a lot of people here. Well, yeah, there is. If you go out here, less so. Public travel by continent. So you can look at Europe, North America, Australia, Southeast Asia. Okay, so you can see how passenger railway is much more important to these continents, or much more used, and Australia just hugs the coast. An image of multiple wolf packs. So here we are in biology. In some remarkable natural mechanism here, you can have 6 different wolf packs and they don't tread on each other. Snow required to have a snow day. So in Michigan, you can see it takes quite a bit. I love it in the South. Any snow is a snow day. Here's Poland in relation to Texas. Nothing real involved there. You might say Texas is really big, or Poland's not that big. Out of service railways. So this shows about the 19th century to how important they were, how much is left behind. And you could even connect that one to the light map. Health by U.S. states. We're not doing so hot. So you can see the South is a lot less healthy than a lot of other areas in the country. Okay, here's the world's smallest country compared to the world's largest building. And you can take that. I've been to the world's smallest country, the Vatican. It is that small. You can walk right through it. The red shows the geographic places mentioned in the Bible. So if you are, into the Bible, you can see the geography of where the stories come from. Largest immigrant group by state besides Mexico. You could look at this and say, wow, a lot of Indian people. Canada, well, that makes sense. Canada. Here's the Canadian border. Again, with maps, you can interpret as you want. Here's Japan in relation to the U.S. Okay, to me, that was interesting, a little bit, fun for me, but I'm a nerd. So this is the other PowerPoint I showed in class. I know it seems kind of redundant to show 2, but this is a really short one, and the last one was kind of interesting. So for this class, we looked at a couple maps of indigenous people of the Americas. And if you look at this from the Library of Congress, you can see the really different groups and how, geographically and how they were living and the big elaborate key. Here's Native Americans by their own names and locations. Absolutely dozens and dozens and dozens of groups of people. And you can see this nation was full of indigenous people. And going down to Mexico, similar sort of thing with indigenous people. So very diverse, very elaborate indigenous culture in the Americas. Here's a map of the 4 world zones. Again, you can look at this. Here's Afro-Eurasia. They had the advantages. We're here in the Americas now. This sort of thing. Now, this is from Freemanpedia, just to let you know. And this is going to be the last map before we get into the assignment. So these are the groups of people that were mentioned in your books and the people, or your book, excuse me, and the people of the Americas. And you can see this chart, okay? So what I asked you all to do, now if you were absent, we'll come up with a plan B here, but for people who were here, I asked you to look at these groups. Group number 1, the Mississippian people. That I wanted you to break it down in a way that your classmates can understand, and that kind of. I'll show you. Actually, I'll show you the assignment sheet in a second. Group 2, the Puebloan people, the Mexican or Mexica, excuse me. Now I know we say it Mexican, but at the time that Mexica is actually Mexica. If I mispronounced it, I did the best I could. Including Tenochtitlan, Group 4, the Maya people. Okay, it's not chicken, it's chihen, itza. Okay, that's a chicken. It's chihen. Okay, Group 5 is the Inca people, including Cusco and the Incan roads, and then the Polynesian migrations from 300 to 1300. So before I show you the assignment, here's the main points I hope you came away with. The Native Americans in this period existed out in their own world zone with minimal interactions from people from the outside world. Okay, 1492 is the game changer. There's a ton of different societies in the Americas before the Spanish arrived. Now, we mention a couple of them that are prominent because they're large and whatnot, but there's many others as well. Hopefully, we know a little more about them at the end of this. Perhaps the most impressive city in the Americas is Tenochtitlan, where Mexico City is, and it's known for its chinampas or floating gardens. Writing is hard, but we do have some evidence of a form of writing by both the Inca and the Maya. These were very civilized, elaborate people. Point 5, the largest migrations of all time was done in the area of the South Pacific by the Polynesians. Their maritime expeditions made it all the way to Polynesia and Hawaii, and maps tell a historical story just like the written and spoken word. In fact, sometimes it's more effective. All right, so again, that last rectangle is the assignment. And don't make it too involved, okay? This is not super elaborate, but I'm going to ask you to investigate one of these groups of people and provide an explanation that's geared for your classmates. Baby bear's porridge, not too much, not too little, just the appropriate scale. Don't get into superfluous details, but what do the people need to know? Also, show the class some visuals that are representative of your group. And your synopsis should be about 5 to 7 minutes. We'll go right down the line from 1 to 6. And then we'll work through it. What context can you place these groups of people in? What commonalities do they have? And what advantages did Afro-Eurasia have over the zone of the Americas? Okay, so going full circle here. Okay, these are the 3 rectangles. And if you were absent, email me in terms of what to do for this assignment. We'll come up with a plan B, okay? So, thank you for watching.